There are two kinds of people in this world. There are those who are happy and living their best life, enjoying true freedom, traveling the world, and trying out new things that scare and challenge them. They understood the idea we will talk about in this video, and it's one of the many things in their lives that made them happy, successful, and fulfilled. And then there is this. What if I told you that the troublemakers, the rebels, the ones who questioned everything, became either the world's greatest successes or its biggest failures? There's rarely an in-between. Think about that kid in class who always asked why, the one teachers couldn't handle. That kid grew up to either change the world or get lost in it. Today, we're diving into the mysterious pattern I've observed in highly intelligent men, a pattern that determines whether they'll reach the stars or spiral into the abyss. And trust me, by the end of this video, you'll never look at intelligence the same way again. Let me tell you about Mike. At 14, he hacked his school's computer system, not out of malice, but because he was curious about how it worked. His teachers called him a menace and labeled him unmanageable. What they didn't see was a boy who felt out of place, stuck in a rigid system that couldn't keep up with his mind. Mike grew up in a small town where opportunities were scarce, but his curiosity was boundless. While others played video games, Mike was tearing apart old computers from the local junkyard, figuring out how they worked. One summer, he found a free online coding course, dove in and taught himself Python. His first project? An app that helped his parents manage their small grocery store's inventory. Today, he's a cybersecurity expert for Fortune 500 companies, protecting businesses from threats most people can't even fathom. Now let's talk about his best friend from those days, Tom. Tom was just as curious, just as brilliant. But unlike Mike, he didn't have someone encouraging his curiosity. Tom faced ridicule for asking too many questions, and over time, he started to believe what others told him, that he'd never amount to anything. Today, he spends most of his time on internet forums, convinced the world is against him. Same potential, two paths. See, what we call troublemaking in young boys is often a mask for something deeper, a refusal to accept surface-level answers. These aren't just rebellious kids. These are minds that need to question everything. This pattern repeats throughout history. Steve Jobs. Jobs didn't just question why computers couldn't be beautiful. He insisted they inspire creativity. This vision led to the first Macintosh, but not before he faced one of the hardest moments of his life, being ousted from the very company he founded. Instead of giving up, Jobs came back stronger, transforming Apple into the global powerhouse it is today. Bill Gates was another one of those brilliant minds. Gates was a quiet, analytical teen who spent endless hours in his school's computer lab. When he wasn't coding, he was reading. But what set him apart was his audacity. At 19, he dropped out of Harvard to start Microsoft, betting everything on his belief that computers would become a household necessity. That bet? It made him one of the wealthiest and most influential people in history. On this topic of creative geniuses who defied the odds, we definitely must talk about Elon Musk. Musk, as a kid, was often lost in thought, devouring books and dreaming of Mars. His questioning mind wasn't always celebrated. In fact, he was bullied relentlessly in school. But that didn't stop him. He taught himself to code at 12 and sold his first video game for $500. Fast forward to today, Musk is pushing the boundaries of humanity, whether it's through Tesla, SpaceX, or his dream of colonizing Mars. But here's where it gets interesting and dangerous. These questioning minds often discover things that change them forever. Imagine diving deeper than anyone else into the ocean of knowledge. You start seeing things others don't, the hidden mechanisms of society, the true nature of human behavior, the patterns behind success and failure. This knowledge is a gift, but it comes with a choice, and that choice often determines whether you'll soar or be crushed. Research backs this up. Studies show that highly intelligent individuals are more likely to experience anxiety and existential crises. Why? Because they see complexities others often overlook. According to a 2016 study published in Personality and Individual Differences, people with high IQs are up to 30% more likely to suffer from mental health issues. largely due to their heightened sensitivity to the challenges and paradoxes of life. Another study from the Gifted Development Center found that 87% of highly gifted individuals report feeling intense and misunderstood, which can lead to emotional burnout if not managed properly. This explains why diving too deep, whether into philosophy, science, or self-reflection, can feel overwhelming. When you see the hidden strings of the universe, you begin to notice the gaps, the flaws, and the things most people are content to ignore. It's both a blessing and a burden. Let me share two stories real quick to show you how deep this runs. Let's look back at Ignaz Semmelweis, a Hungarian doctor in the 19th century. He discovered that doctors washing their hands before delivering babies drastically reduced maternal deaths. But here's the twist. His peers ridiculed him. They rejected his findings because they challenged long-held beliefs. Semmelweis fell into despair, ostracized by his community. He died in obscurity, never seeing his ideas accepted. But here's the legacy. Decades later, his ridiculous idea became the cornerstone of modern medicine. Even in failure, his truth transformed the world. Sarah was a brilliant coder revolutionizing AI ethics, but her deep dive into machine learning led her to a harsh truth. AI systems at scale would inevitably develop biases, not because of bad data, but due to fundamental information theory. It shook her to the core. She had two choices: give up or transform this knowledge. Today, her company leads the industry in bias detection systems, a multi-million-dollar solution born from her despair. Each of these individuals faced what I call the dragon of truth, a moment of discovery so profound it could destroy them or transform them. The difference between those who crash and those who soar isn't in what they discovered. It's in what they chose to do with that knowledge. Each discovered truths about their industries that broke them initially. Each faced the same demon, the temptation to give up, to become cynical, to turn their backs on everything. Remember those who chose to rise? They faced the same darkness, the same despair, but instead of letting it consume them, they chose to transform it. They understood something fundamental. You don't face the darkness to drown in it. You face it to transform it. But what does that mean for you? Here's how you rise. Take a step back from the chaos. Write down what you've learned and share it with people who challenge and support you. Transformation thrives in clarity and community. Never fear starting over. Remember, every great transformation begins with an ending. Sometimes what feels like a failure is just the clearing of the old to make way for the new. Here's the truth. The fact that you see the cracks, the flaws, the questions no one else is asking, that's not a weakness. It's your gift. Your ability to dive deeper, to challenge norms, is what makes you capable of leading the way out of the darkness. And when you rise, you're not just transforming yourself. You're lighting the path for others to follow. You're not here to fear the dark. You're here to bring the light. Every great leader first had to master their own darkness. Every teacher had to first teach themselves. Do you remember a time when you felt like the odd one out for questioning the status quo? Pause and think. How do you handle the dragons of truth in your own life? So here's your challenge. Take that brilliant, questioning mind of yours and point it inward. Start with your own transformation, because once you learn to turn your personal hell into heaven, you can show others how to do the same. Drop a comment about a challenge that transformed you and subscribe to join others as you continue your journey of turning brilliance into purpose.